What's going on, everybody? My name is Johann Castro, and welcome to this edition of Afterthoughts, recapping, of course, UFC 240 in Edmonton. A pretty good card up and down. A card definitely, obviously, catered more for the Canadian fans. A lot of Canadian talent showcased on the card. It was a pretty exciting card up and down. Had some great fights. Pantoja Figueiredo, fantastic fight. Jeff Neal, Nico Price was crazy. Of course, we're going to start this breakdown with the main event. You had Max Holloway against Frankie Edgar. It was a fight that went about the way most people anticipated it to go. The belief going in was that Max was going to control the action. He was going to control the fight. A lot of people thought he would finish the fight, myself included. Frankie Edgar, of course, being as tough as nails. I mean, the guy has gone through it tons of times, went through wars in his career. I think we were foolish to think he'd get finished in this fight, but Max looked fantastic. Even though he didn't get the finish, he put on a clinic. You know, it wasn't. You know, I think we've gotten used to seeing Max Holloway at featherweight just absolutely steamroll guys. You know, we saw him finish Aldo twice, put on a clinic against Brian Ortega. He was a little bit more hesitant in this fight, I noticed. Maybe a little bit of that lingering feeling of that Dustin Poirier fight in his head early on. He did seem like he was a little bit, I don't want to say afraid to pull the trigger, but he was definitely cautious, more than we've seen in the past. And, you know, coming into this fight, one of the big X factors that I really keyed in on was how is Max going to respond after taking a loss, the first loss he had in, 13 fights? So, just overall, though, a great performance from Max Holloway. As the fight, wore on, he continued to just progress and get better. After about the second round, he really took control. Frankie did get a takedown in the third round. He looked decent in the fourth round, but really overall, I think it was Max Holloway's fight from beginning to end. I gave him all 5 rounds. Some people gave him 4, some people gave him 3. I'm not seeing anyone say Edgar won that fight. Max Holloway 100% defended that title. No controversy. It's nice to not have any controversy for once in one of these events. So, great performance from Max Holloway. And it's really going to be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward, because featherweight right now, and I mentioned it, in a couple editions back, featherweight right now is as exciting in terms of the upper echelon of the division as any division in MMA. You have guys in this division. Obviously, Alexander Volkanovski, I think he's got to be next, right? It makes sense. He beat Jose Aldo. Didn't just beat Jose Aldo, dominated Jose Aldo in Brazil, and it turned out he had an injured foot after that fight. So Volkanovski, I think 100% should be next. But even then, you've got the Korean Zombie, who should be fighting later this year in Korea. A big win from him puts him right in that conversation if Max decides to sit out even longer. We've got Brian Ortega. Whenever he comes back, he's still up there in contendership. You've got Yair Rodriguez fighting Jeremy Stevens in a few weeks. That's the winner of that fight's going to be in contendership. Josh Emmett looked fantastic in his last fight against Bektik. So featherweight's really exciting right now, and I'm going to be interested to see what the UFC does with Max going forward. The title fight with Volkanovski, I think, is what you have to do. It's a matter of when and where, not so much as if. But as we've seen in the past, crazier things have happened. I'd like to see it happen in Australia in October. Might be too quick of a turnaround for Max, but yeah, I think Volkanovski is the fight to make. And then if Holloway decides, hey, I want to sit out a little bit longer, then maybe you do a title eliminator between Volk and Korean Zombie, or Volk and Ortega, or whatever you want to do. But featherweight's exciting right now, and Max Holloway once again showing why he's the best. It's hard to argue that now. Jose Aldo has the wins, but I think Max Holloway has the style, and the way he's done it has been more emphatic. So right now, I'd have to say Max Holloway is probably the greatest featherweight of all time in MMA. Moving on to the co-main event, we had Chris Cyborg and Felicia Spencer. Again, another fight that I think a lot of people expected to go one way, and it went a little bit off course, in that most people anticipated Cyborg to get a first-round knockout or a finish, period. Myself, again, included. I thought it was going to be a fight where Felicia Spencer, once she got hit, she wasn't going to really know what to do. Cyborg, in the past, as we've seen, has that power to, as soon as she touches women, they feel it. And they realize, holy crap, I'm here with Cyborg. So I expected a lot of that. I didn't expect Felicia Spencer to take the shot she did. I certainly did not expect her to just take overhand after overhand after overhand and still stand. So I have a whole newfound respect for her. She's tough as nails. I mean, she really is. I guess we can call her the female Frankie Edgar because she doesn't go down. Felicia Spencer looked fantastic, but Chris Cyborg put on a clinic. And this is one of those things where I think the UFC is really going to have to analyze this with Cyborg, because it was an impressive win, don't get me wrong. She won that fight. She won it in dominating fashion. And in my opinion, she should fight Amanda Nunes next in a rematch. 100%, that should be the fight that happens. But this is one of those scenarios, considering Cyborg's situation with the contract being up, where I can see the UFC letting her walk. For a multitude of reasons outside of the octagon. I'm not going to get into that right now, because I can make a whole video on that. But more so because I feel like now with this performance, it's going to convolute things, and it's going to make people think, well, maybe Cyborg is past her prime. Maybe we've seen the best Cyborg. Because if she's not putting away a former Invicta champion that easily, well then maybe she's not at the level she was a few years ago. And now, I don't necessarily believe that's the case. I still think she could fight Amanda Nunes, and it would be a competitive fight, and it would be a great fight. I think her strategy in that first fight, she wanted to go out there and show Amanda her power, and obviously it backfired. But I think she's still the biggest challenge for Amanda at the moment. I think she's the only woman that can beat Amanda. Right now, I think it's a matter of if Dana White wants to keep her around, and if the UFC wants to keep her around. I think they should, but I think the belief that's going to go through a lot of people is Cyborg's past her prime. Because if she can't finish Felicia Spencer, well then obviously, she can't beat Amanda Nunes, right? That's the idea that I think is going to be tossed around. Again, I don't see any truth to that. I think she 100% could beat Amanda Nunes. I think Amanda Nunes could obviously beat her again. I think that's the fight that needs to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how they play this. I think they should bring her back to fight Amanda. I think Cyborg is still a UFC caliber fighter. But again, we're going to see how the waters move here, so to speak, because a lot of people, I can already see it, Cyborg being a polarizing figure as she is, there are going to be people who think she should move on. And we'll see if the UFC president and the UFC brass are some of those people. So, coming into the night, the most exciting fight on the card, by many people's estimation, was going to be Jeff Neal and Nico Price in a welterweight feature fight. And it delivered. It really did. The main card leading up to that point, we had Jotko and Barrio, which was a pretty underwhelming fight, not going the way we expected it to. We had Oban Mercier and Sarukian. Again, some good grappling, but not really the excitement a lot of people were looking for. Neal and Price delivered, 100%. Nico Price, as soon as he gets hit, he just goes into Mach 10 as soon as he gets hit. And he really impressed me, even in a losing effort. Jeff Neal is one of the biggest and best prospects at 170, maybe in the entire UFC. And Nico Price tagged him, staggered him, knocked him down. Nico Price, I think his stock rose, and obviously Jeff Neal. That guy's going to be ranked. He deserves to be ranked. I say give him a top 10 opponent next. If not, maybe give him a guy. Maybe Vicente Luque and Mike Perry, they're fighting in a couple of weeks. Give him the winner of that one. But Jeff Neal's the real deal, 100%. I think he is a real dangerous prospect at 170. And Nico Price too. I mean, the toughness and just the mindset of that guy is just, it's insane. And I want to see both of those guys going forward. Great fight, great performance from NEAL, great finish from NEAL, and yeah, I think their stock, I think both of those guys, their stock rose quite a bit. And then we're going to close out this edition with a bit of prospect watch, because on the prelims, we had 3 quote-unquote super prospects going into this fight. We had Viviane Araújo, who I'm going to talk about in great length because I am a huge fan of Viviane Araújo. After she beat Talita Bernardo in Brazil, I wrote an Afterthoughts article hyping her up. I said she reminds me a lot of a younger Joanna. The way she moves, her power, she's dangerous. If all of her fights stay on the feet, it's going to be hard to beat her. She looks so good, that girl does. I really think she's going to be dangerous going forward. She might be the one who's going to give Valentina the most challenges if she gets to that point at flyweight. She might move back down to strawweight. I mean, she's really a Swiss Army knife. She can go all kinds of places right now. Debuted at bantamweight. Last fight was at flyweight. She's a natural strawweight. I can't wait to see what she has going forward. I'm a huge fan of Viviane Araújo. You had Hakeem Dawodu, who, and I'm probably butchering his name and I apologize. Great knockout over Yoshinori Horie. That guy, I don't think he's ready for top 15 yet, but I do think his stock is rising fast. And then Gavin Tucker, great submission win. He was coming off of an injury, an extended layoff. He looked fantastic too. Can't wait to see what he's got going forward. Maybe DAWODU and Tucker match up. I'd like to see that. But anyways, thanks for watching this edition of Afterthoughts. My name is Johann Castro. I'll see you next time. Keep watching. Have fun. Enjoy the fights, guys.